Okay, so since it's 1 o'clock and this hour goes by really fast, I think we should probably just get started. I don't have any like housekeeping things to mention. Min or Jesse, do you guys have anything?
Not from my end. Thank you, Jesse.
Nothing for me, thanks, Jess.
All right, cool. So Rodney, we're ready when you are.
Okay, good deal. So I guess we're gonna do some plotting today for, and we're already in week 3. Seems like this training is flying by. We're already in week 3. So what we're gonna do some plotting today with ggplot, and we're gonna plot some of the air quality data that is already defaulted in RStudio. Again, Jess, y'all can man the chat because I'm flying blind. I can't see the chat or anything.
Oh yeah, that's
Uh,
okay. We'll manage the chat for you and I'll
Good deal.
interrupt if you have someone
Yeah,
has an
please. Yeah,
urgent question.
yeah.
But
Just
really
please
quick,
interrupt.
I wanted to ask, do you mind actually, if it's okay with you, making your RStudio just full screen?
Sure.
And that way, I think the folks who are tuning in can see a little bit better.
And
And
they'll
if you're viewing Rodney's screen and you are having trouble seeing in the bottom left corner on Teams, next to Rodney's name is a plus and minus. You can use that to zoom in if you need to see his screen better. So thank you, Rodney. You can take it
no
away.
problem. So I guess first thing is, who wants to drive? Who wants to drive the train today? We'll let somebody plot.
Yeah, I guess did we want to get a volunteer? I know some of the feedback we did receive, they liked following the TA. I know that was a lot.
Okay, I mean that's
But
not a problem. We can do that too. I mean,
but yeah, I know you have it kind of written out already, but I don't know. Unless someone wants to volunteer. I
oh, I
know
mean,
I know some
I
people
mean, I can read.
appreciated.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's no problem. I can start it and I can TA it. That's no problem at all.
All right. I
Uh,
mean, yeah, whatever you're comfortable with.
No, I'm fine. I'll do it. That's not, it's okay. That way they can follow along and they can go ahead. But if there's any pressing questions, if anybody can just butt in, and if you have any questions, just let me know. Um, so what the first thing for me, for good practice is before you start any project, make sure you're in the working directory that you want to be in. Because there's been a number of times where I've started some project and I completely forgot to set the working directory, and I've created CSV files, plots, tables, and it was in the complete wrong directory. So what I do, I don't use keyboard shortcuts. I just don't use it. So what I typically do before I start a project in RStudio, I go to more, and then I go to set the working directory, the directory file that I'm in. So after we do that, we want to, what I like to do is whatever tables that I'm working with or predetermined tables that I'm working with, I like to automatically go and set them in the environment. So what I do, again, I don't use keyboard shortcuts. I just click the the table that we're using today, and then I just go ahead and import the data set into the environment. You want to make sure that that's set in that environment. But before we get to that, what we want to do is we want to kind of set the foundation of how to ggplot. So first thing we want to do is kind of become familiar with factors. And factors plays a big part in when you when you do create ggplot, or when you create any plots, not just through ggplot, but any plots rather in R. So the first example we want to do is let's go ahead and let's create a factor from a numeric value. So let's say
Hey,
a,
Rodney, really quick. Sorry.
sure. No, you're fine.
Everyone is having issues seeing your screen. Is there any way in your like settings that you could just make your text a little bit bigger
Sure.
or quite a bit bigger actually?
What I'm gonna do, I'm sorry, this is so small.
It's
Let me
okay.
see how I can increase the size in this.
Um,
Okay, what I'm gonna do, you know what? Because this screen is so big, Jesse, give me 2 seconds. Let me jump on my laptop. My laptop will be a lot easier to read. Give me 2 seconds.
or I think if you go to the view drop down and
Uh-huh.
just click zoom, I think there's like a zoom in.
Let's try that. It's control.
Yeah,
See. Oh, that's okay. How
there we
about this?
go. Is that better,
How about that?
everybody?
Thanks, Jess. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay,
Yes, everyone's
so
giving you the thumbs up.
okay, good deal. All right, so again, let's go ahead and create. We want to create a factor from a numeric value. So let's go ahead and go create a factor 1. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and run this. Run go. Let's see. Okay, so go ahead and run that. I don't use shortcuts again. I don't know what the shortcut is for run on a Mac because I don't even see my shortcut.
I think for Mac, it's just Command Enter.
Command enter. Yep, that's it. You're right. Okay. And then we want to view what A is. Oh, I'm sorry. What am I doing here? A factor. Nothing wants to work. Oh, there it is. Okay, there we go. Run. Okay, now that I know what I'm doing. Good. Okay, so we wanted to see what factor 1 was with A. So when we ran A, it shows us that A is in fact a factor 1. So with A, it shows us that A is a level 1 there, as we assigned it factor 1. And so we want to look at the class. When we want to look at what class it is, it shows that it is in fact a class it is in fact in the factor.
Rodney, do you mind zooming out just like
Sure.
1 or 2 times? Thank you.
Are we good now?
That's perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, that's fine. Just interrupt me if something, And so now what we want to do, we want to create a factor from a character value. So we say B factor, let me say X. So let's run this and see what it does. So it tells us that it's a factor. It just verifies what we typed. And so we want to verify what B was. Run it. And in fact, it's level X. Okay. And we want to say class B. And it's going to tell us that it's a factor. That's in fact a factor there. Okay. Now we want to take these classes and try to create a vector with the classes. So let's go. Let's set D up and say we want to define the factors. So let's say low, middle, high. Okay, and then there's one more. Okay. And let's run. Oh, what did I do there? Low, middle. Oh, kind of there. What am I doing? C low. All right, Jess, what do you see here? What am I doing?
I think you need the C in front of your parentheses.
Oh, the constant. You're right. I need to see. You're correct. Okay, there we go. All right, so that we just want to define the factors, and then when we view D, it should give us low, middle, and high. Yes, low, middle, and high. I don't know, I have two highs. And so once we define the factors, low, middle, and high, let's convert the character vectors to a factor. So factor D okay, let's run this and see. So we defined our factor D in the environment. And let's go ahead and view factor D. And in fact, we defined what we did was we created a factor with levels. And these levels here, as you know, they're in alphabetical order, low, middle, high. So those are in alphabetical order for the factors. And so now, if you want to view the levels of the factors, you just go to the levels function there and then go factor D. And then it'll put it in alphabetical order for you. High, low, middle. Again, they're ordered alphabetically. Here in the levels. So if you want to change the order or view a new order of the levels, let's go ahead and go levels.
Hey, Rodney,
Yes.
do you mind explaining what exactly like factor is? I feel like people don't totally understand in what situation you would need this. Could you like explain a little bit more about that?
It'll be more self-explanatory when we start actually plotting, but basically it's hard to as far as creating what a factor is think of a factor as like a variable. Okay, like think of factor as, you have a set of variables, let's say temperature, dew point, wind speed, wind direction. Think of factors in that mindset of it being just different variables. Does that make sense, Jess?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would probably kind of also describe it as like categorical like data,
Yes.
kind of like, how many, if you had like male versus female or red versus blue, it's kind of like categories.
That's right. Yeah, right. It's also definitely right. You're right. Like categories, like if you want to, then like the colors, like the colors of a rainbow. You want to, red, orange, yellow, green, blue. indigo violet. You can, yeah, those are like the categories, and you can change with factors. You can manipulate the categories and change the order, the order or alphabetical order or the proper order of the spectrum, however you want to do it. So yeah, that's a good example, Jess. So we were on the level order. If you want to view the new order of the levels that we set here, we set high, low, and middle, and those are defaulted in alphabetical order. So those were the factors. So we'll apply these factors more when we get to when we go ahead and do a ggplot. So when we're going to start plotting, and so let's make sure we have our packages loaded, tidyverse and ggplot2. Okay, so let's make sure we have our packages loaded. And once we have our packages loaded, what I like to do is, since we are dealing with the air quality data set, what I like to do is I like to have the data in the environment. So I don't think this is included in the lessons. But what I do is I type in data air quality, and what this does when I run it, it's going to set it up in my environment. And then when I want to, going back to previous lessons, you want to view it, head air quality. And so when you want to look at this, it creates the air quality table in the environment so you can view the table. I just like to have that in that environment so I can reference it. And so now with ggplots, I use ggplots a good bit. For ggplots, you want to just use as far as just a basic ggplot initialization. It's not going to show anything. Let's just go ggplot air quality. So let's go ahead and just ggplot this. Okay, so I'm going to have to zoom out just a bit. So there's nothing in this plot here. It's just a layout. So the next thing we want to do, let's add some aesthetics to the mapping. So let's go ggplot. And let's say, okay, we want to add, we got to reference the data frame. So it's going to be air quality. And now we want to name what variables, how do we want to set up our X and Y axis? So you have to hit comma, and then this AES function is a function that it sets up. It basically, what this AES function does is establishes the plots. And so it's AES, and you want your X axis to equal the month, okay? And then comma, and you want your Y axis to equal ozone values, okay? So once you have that set up, you're just setting up your the grid. So you go ahead and run this, and then it sets up your grid. Your month is on the x-axis. Your y-axis is your ozone concentration. Okay, so once we had that, it's like, well, all right, let's plot something. Let's go ahead and let's create a simple box plot. So you say ggplot again, air quality, and then you want to use the aesthetics function again, AES, and then this is where the factor comes in, is you want to say, because you're using, like Jess referred to earlier, like a category, X equals factor month, okay, and then Y equals ozone. And then what you want to do after this is you have to have you have to have a continuation. So you have to have a plus at the end of the string. At the end of this line code, it's basically this plus just means a continuation of what you want to do. And so then what do you want to do? Well, let's do let's set up a box plot. So geom, the geom package has, if you just hit geom underscore, you have a series of options here that you can do. So we want to set up a box plot. So let's do a simple geom box plot. Okay.
I think you need your y equals ozone out of the factor.
You're right. That's x. Let me look there. Hang on, just let me see. X equals factor. Oh, you're right. Because you know what? I forgot the parentheses month. You got to close parentheses at month. And then right, that y, your ozone. You're correct. Thank you for that. And so I had extra parentheses. Yeah, so you see the mistake I made? I forgot to hit that close parentheses because your factors, the category is the month that you are defining. And so, and then you have to have a direction for the ozone, the Y plot. So you're just saying that the ozone concentration is on the Y plot. So let's go ahead and run this plot. And you see that it set a simple a box plot of the month per month. May being 5 being May, 6 being June, 7 being July, etc. So you'll see this warning message here. 37 rows containing so what that is if you go back to your air quality table here, you're going to have it's basically the NA values in the ozone column. So you have 37, basically you have 37 NAs in this ozone column here. So it just ignored those NA values. So that's just your simple box plot that you can set up. We use the month, of course, to treat the month as the categorical variable. So the next thing you want to do is let's go ahead and filter the data. Let's do some filtering the data and let's try to create a scatter plot. Okay. So you got to use your air quality data frame. I can spell air quality. Okay, so now you're going to use your dplyr symbols as far as your connection symbols there. And then because what you're doing is you got to join the month, the day, and the ozone. So you want to filter month. You got that two equal signs there, and then it's going to be we want to view August. So put in 8 for the month of August, and then your dplyr symbol there, and then ggplot AES your aesthetics. So what you're filtering is your aesthetics equal day, and your Y is going to equal ozone. And then you have to have a continuation here. So you have to add a plus. And then, so let's do geom point. Again, when you put in geom, you're going to have a series of options here. And so let's just do geom point. Okay, so this should give us our plot. So this gives us our plot because it's using the point plots for the scatter plot. Just a simple plot there. So what you're doing, you got day on the x-axis, for the month of August, and then you got your ozone concentration on the y-axis. So now you have this data. So you're like, okay, so let's modify. I want to modify the labels on my plot. So what you do here, ggplot, you set up the ggplot function, and then you want to use a table air quality, and then you want to use aesthetics. So your X factor, again, is your month. Close that parentheses, y equals ozone. And then you have to have a continuation. And so let's do the geom box plot. Plus. So this labs function here is you are defining it's basically it's your label function. So your labs. So let's add it. So, okay, so let's add a title. What will our title be? Title equals box plot of ozone in New York, and you want to set May through September 1973. All right, and then we want to continue labeling, comma. So you want to define, let's label the X and Y coordinates. So the X coordinate is going to equal to month. And then the Y coordinate is going to equal to ozone. Oh, I'm sorry, you got to put quotations. Ozone ppb. All right. And let's see if it plots. If I'm going too fast, let me know. So again, we created the title, box plot of ozone in New York, May through September with the title. And then on the X and Y axis, we defined what our X and Y axis were. So let's go ahead and differentiate the months with different colors. Okay. Let's go ggplot. Again, you want to use air quality table there. And then your aesthetics. X equals day, Y equals ozone. So now you want to define, so you defined your aesthetics. So now let's define our color. So we used the color function here, and it's going to be the color function is going to be our factor. So, I mean, the factor is still going to be our month for category, but we've got to define the color for the per month. So factor month plus. So we want to do a geom line. Okay. Basically, this open close parentheses is it's just basically the default geom line. It's just a simple line. And then what we want to do is we want to what we call facet grid. Facet into rows. It's basically the only way I can explain facet is kind of like transpose in Excel. It just kind of organizes the rows. It's going to organize the rows. It's going to organize into rows based on the month. So we'll say facet grid, and then our factor will be again the month. So then basically this tilde and the dot that at the end of this. Wait, hang on, man. Let's see. What? I've been scared. Hang on, I've jumped ahead of myself, I believe. No, that's right. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead of myself. I apologize, guys. I jumped ahead to the next thing. So let me go back. Let me start over real quick. So where I was at, all we had to do for here was go GM line plus and then GM point. So I gotta add my color function to this. Okay, there we go. All right, I jumped ahead. My apologies, guys. So let's see if this. So we're just adding colors to this, and we added colors. That does not look. Let's see. Did I do that right? Air quality. Oh, you know what I did? This needs to be day, not month. Okay, that was that. I was like, that does not look correct. So let's rerun this. That looks better. So we're so
I think
Jess, is
because
it?
you still have factor in front of day.
I did. I was like, say that still didn't look. Yeah, I appreciate you setting me straight. I at night, and then let's see now. As I say, that still didn't look correct. There we go. Okay, that looks a lot better. Okay, so now the color is the month is color coordinated. Uh, the colors assigned to each month on the plot. As you can see, May is red, June is that greenish color, July is another greenish color, August is a bluish color. So we're just basically we were just assigning, we're assigning each month to a certain color. And so now what we want to do on the one that I jumped ahead, we want to create subplots. And so basically what this is what the facet uses. It helps us create subplots based, we want to create subplots of the rows based on the month. So let's say ggplot air quality AS. I'm going to say our aesthetics is AX, X equals day, I equals ozone. And so we want to assign the factor here, color factor by the month, right? So, okay. Add a continuation, geom line, because we want to create a line. So you say geo line. And so now continuation, this is where we use the facet function. Facet grid. And so we want to assign it we want to subplot it based on the month. So it's going to be factor month and then tilde dot. So basically, what this, if we plot this, it plots each month separately and with this assigned color. So it's not all the plots like on this previous plot, they're all on one plot. So this plot just separates the months into their own separate plots. And of course, where there's missing links, there's missing data here. So this is in August because no, it's not August. This is day, well, wait a minute now. Let me see. So yes, it's still using August because we filtered the month out for August back a few lines back. So this is for the month of August. And so what we want to do next is we created the subplots for the rows. Now let's create subplots for the column. So so this was for rows. So let's try to view it. We're viewing on the rows here. So let's try to view from the column point of view. So basically same thing, ggplot, air quality, AS, X equals day, Y equals ozone, color equals factor, month. All right. And then back to your geom line. So type in facet grid, use the facet grid function again. And so this dot and tilde is going to tell it, is going to assign it for the column. Factor, month. So the dot and the tilde in front of the factor should plot for the columns. Yes. So we have it plotting visually looking at a column point of view. So that looks, and then also, so we just use geom line. I just want to see, I'm going to do this. Let's see, geom point. Sometimes lines get a little messy for me, so I like to view geom point. It's just easy for me to view if I use a geom point, because a line gets it just kind of gets for me. Okay. And so the next thing we want to do is let's add lines and customize. Let's customize the plot further. So at least the air quality table again with our dplot. We're using dplyr. And so what do you want to do? Let's say we'll group by the month. Okay. And then let's do a summary. Let's do a summary. So we'll summarize, spell SUMMARISE. Let's summarize ozone, the average. And that's going to be the mean for ozone. So this, and then we got use na.rm equals true. And then we want to set up the GG plot, set up the plots, GG plot aesthetics. X equals, again, we're using our factor by month. Factor month. And then Y equals ozone. You got to put in ozone average because we defined our average here in summaries. So we want to plot our ozone average. So we'll plot that. Plus, let's use a column.
Sorry, is that ozone? Is a typo in the ozone average?
Say that again.
Is that typo after the summarize ozone average? Ozone looks like there is.
Oh, it should no. It's going to pull it from the air. Should pull it from this air quality table. Is that what you're asking?
No, I feel like that's ozone average. That you.
Yes.
Missing is O.
Typo. The one in front of the O, like the mean. Yeah, here. Is ozone average is missing O? Sorry.
Oh, I misspelled it. Is that what you're saying? Ozone average? Yes. Thank you. So, okay. So we got ozone average. Right. And so we're going to say geome. So the column, yeah, we want to fill. So what color do we want to use? We'll say steel blue. So now we want to set up a kind of like an intercept line. So we say geom. It's a highlight line is what it is. And then we'll say Y, where do you want to intercept it at? So Y intercept. So we would say we want to set it at a limit, 50. Typically, I will set this at 70, being the ozone, the NAC standard, but we'll use 50 as an example. So we'll say ozone 50 color. What color do we want to use? We'll say orange. And then we can set what size of the line do we want? We'll say equals 2. That just so we added our horizontal line, and so let's set the Y. Basically, this sets the what spacing you want to see on the Y axis. So we'll say you're just setting the scale. So let's say scale Y continuous. You want a continuous scale there. Breaks equal in a sequence. Let's say 0, 75 by, and you want to say your spacing is, so your lower domain is 0, the upper bound or the max is 75, and your spacing is going to be 10. And then let's add a title. Monthly ozone plot. And then let's set the X and Y axis. X equals the month. And then Y will equal the ozone. Ozone ppb. All right, so let's see if we can get our plot. Uh-oh. So I got an error. So let's see what I did. So geom column, let's see, what was that did?
You need an equal sign for your size of your H line.
Ooh, you're right. Size. Thank you, Jeff. Size equals 2. Yes, that's right. So there we go. So our upper bound was 70, lower bound was 0. We set this highlight line here at 50. And then, of course, we can see looks like the highest ozone is in the months of July and August. And then, so lastly, let's apply themes. So air quality, and then percent per. So we want to group by month. And we just taken from the previous code, summarize. It's true. Okay. And then we use and then we'll say ggplot aesthetics. X equals factor in I type month Y equals ozone average. Okay. And then geom column, we'll fill it again, equals steel blue. And then we got to set up our highlight line, geom H line, my intercept equals 50. Color equals wrong ticks. Orange there. Okay. Put a 2. Okay. So now we want to do again, set up our scale. The sequence is going to be again 0, 75, and then it's going to be the spacing will be every 10. All right. Plus, so let's add. So we'll do again labs. TITLE, and then again we'll go monthly ozone plot. I gotta put that in quotations. With X equaling month and y equaling ozone ppb. Okay, so the next step we want to do is we want to set a theme, right? So our theme, let's say classic. And let's see, it's just it just adds like a minimalistic theme to the plot. Again, what did I do? Intercept equals to unexpected numeric constant.
You need a equals after by.
Let me see. Oh, you're right. By equals 10. You're correct. Thank you. Let's do. Okay, so that just basically, but as you can see, the difference between the two plots, it just set up a theme. It just basically made the aesthetics look a little bit better on the ozone plot. So that is all of the lesson. Are there any questions? Jess, how are we doing? It looks like we're doing okay on time.
Yeah, no questions so far, but Ranil, did you figure out what the issue Taylor was having?
I mean, I see Rodney. You can hear me, right?
I can.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, Rodney didn't run into the same issue. So Rodney, I don't know if you can look at the chat, but it's basically line 52
Sure.
or even 61. The summarize part, you are creating that ozone average variable, but does that get passed on to the data frame that you're using to make the ggplot as a new variable?
Okay, so that does not add, it doesn't add to the table. No,
Right.
which yeah, that's odd that she's not, it's just not, it's not working, like it's not generating the ozone average.
Right. Yeah.
Nope. Okay, so it's not fact because it's not it's not in the table. Let me think. It's odd that she's not getting that because let me go back up.
I can meet with Taylor offline because she's new to my group, so I can see after this maybe there was like something above that she was having
Right.
issues with.
You might need a mutate, isn't it?
Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm baffled why it works for Rodney.
Yeah, I
Is
don't
it
know.
working?
Her R was having some weird issues last week or the first week, so I'm not sure. But I'm probably I have to meet with her anyway after this, so I might just take a peek and see what happened.
Okay.
But someone else has their hand up, Kira, I think.
Yeah, I just had a couple questions early on. I don't think they mattered, but I put them in the Q&A because at first for some reason I wasn't able to type into the chat until like halfway through. So maybe just a suggestion to check out the Q&A every now and then. But it was just in reference to you talking about loading ozone _samples _demo, and obviously we didn't mess around with that. So you can
Oh
disregard
yeah,
that.
okay. Yeah, I kind of added. Okay, yeah, I just added that in there as far as at the beginning of the at the beginning.
Yeah, that just threw me off a little. Like,
Yeah, I didn't mean
sometimes I
to mean to throw anybody off. Yeah, I just
That's
kinda
okay.
just
Totally okay.
Oh.
I just sometimes I can get down a little side path, and I know it wasn't in the in the weekly
right.
agenda, but yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks so much.
Sure. Anything else, Jess?
Not much in the
Okay.
chat. Sorry, I'm just kind of like rereading over.
They're fine.
So the point, just kind of addressing like some of these questions, the point of using the factor function with month in this situation is because it would R would then read month as a like continuous variable, kind of like an ozone, like the variable ozone concentrations or something. Whereas when you make it a factor, it's like there's
Yes.
level 5, level 6, for month, but it's just everything is in those categories. So sometimes if you try to graph it, someone in the chat was asking, like, they're not sure why they need to turn month into factor. So it's more important, I guess, like I don't know, if you want the data to be plotted a certain way, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, because it create because it's basically it's like an order of operation. I mean, it lets ggplot know, that when you factor the month, it defaults it in like March, April, May, June, July. That's why you have to specifically tell R, how do you want month to be plotted. So I create again this. So yeah, I mean that I don't know if that really answers your question, but answers their question. I'm sorry, but yeah, I mean basically that's what the whole point of factor is. It's just kind of like it gives order it just presents an order to it. I know it's hard to explain.
Yeah, I think in this case it's more important for like if month was a character variable, for example, like if it was just text
right. Yeah.
that said January, February, etc. R would just read that in as characters, right?
Well, okay, so I created just going through this, I was gonna quickly type up. I created kind of like a bonus and show. So what I did, let me type this real quick. So air quality. I'm sorry. Let me do this. We got 3 minutes. ggplot, air quality, and so. So for me,
if you guys take a peek in the chat, Sebastian, one of the TAs, added screenshots of what the data would look like if you plotted it using factor versus not using factor. So if you needed an example, go ahead and take a look. But yeah, it categorizes data that needs to be categorized.
yeah,
almost
that's
like
yeah.
creating bins, or if you think of like a histogram or something, like otherwise R just sees a bunch of numbers as continuous data, and your graph won't look the way you need it to look. So
right, that's exactly right. So basically, what I was going to show, basically, we're running out of time, but basically what I was going to show was how factor on the air, just wasting time here, air quality. But I was basically going to show how to label the numbers like by the month, like make 5 May, 6 June, 7.
Oh yeah, no, you don't need to do that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to,
Yeah, no, I think with some of the convos going on in the chat, I hope people kind of understand it now. It is kind of hard to explain some of these things.
It is
using words.
Yeah, the factor, it's hard to explain the factor. It really is. Yeah.
I just always think of like, if you think in like elementary school when you were learning multiplication and like learning the factors of each number, that's probably the best way to think it. So then you're always trying to group based on us, like a central value. So that's just generally, but in terms of characters, it's generally like each unique character is considered its own factor.
Yes, thanks, Sebastian. Okay, well, if without further ado, it sounds like there's no more questions. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Rodney. Taylor, it looks like you were able to get that figured out, so that's great. I'm going to add that document with some of the questions and stuff from the chat in the Teams page. The recording should be popped in the Teams page later this week, and we'll see you all Thursday.
Thanks, Jess.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Thank you.